Over 4 decades ago, the Blues Brothers hit the screen and became an instant cult classic, blending music, comedy, and chaos like never before. But have you ever wondered what happened to the iconic cast after all these years? In this video, we're taking a nostalgic trip back to 1980 to revisit the unforgettable characters, and then fast forward to 2025 to see where life has taken them. Some have continued to shine in Hollywood, others have followed surprising paths, and a few unforgettable legends remain forever in our hearts. Get ready for rare photos, surprising facts, and a walk down memory lane with the stars of the Blues Brothers. Whether you're a diehard fan or just discovering this gem, you won't want to miss this transformation journey. Gerald Walling, who played the stoic and humorless prison guard in the Blues Brothers, was 49 years old at the time of filming. Though his role was minor, his presence added authenticity to the gritty prison scenes. A veteran stage actor, Walling hoped his appearance in the cult classic would launch a more prominent film career, but instead, it marked the peak of his screen presence. After the movie, he struggled to find substantial roles and returned to regional theater, performing for small audiences with dwindling paychecks. He married his college sweetheart, Margaret Ellis, and they had one son named Brian. However, the stress of Walling's unstable career and long absences led to a bitter divorce in 1985. Brian later became estranged from him. Walling faced numerous personal struggles, including chronic alcoholism, clinical depression, and a near-fatal car accident in 1993 that left him partially disabled. He died in 2001 at the age of 70 from complications related to liver failure. At the time of his death, he was living alone in a rented apartment in Pittsburgh, with an estate valued at under $30,000. His funeral was sparsely attended, a quiet farewell to a man once filled with dreams of stage glory. John Belushi, who famously portrayed Joliet, Jake Blues, the charismatic and chaotic lead of the Blues Brothers, was 31 when the film was released. His explosive energy, musical talent, and comedic genius turned Jake into an icon of American pop culture. Behind the scenes, however, Belushi's life was unraveling. He married his high school sweetheart Judy Jacqueline, but the marriage was marred by his intense drug addiction and erratic behavior. They never had children. Despite his fame, Belushi battled inner demons, addiction, depression, and insecurity fueled by the pressures of stardom. His substance abuse led to several stints in rehab, each followed by relapse. By 1981, his reputation in Hollywood had deteriorated, with studios wary of his volatility. In 1982, Belushi was found dead in a Los Angeles hotel room from a speedball overdose at the age of 33. His tragic death sent shockwaves through the entertainment world. At the time, his net worth was estimated at $500,000, much of it consumed by drugs, lawsuits, and lavish living. He left no will, and his estate became the center of legal battles between his widow and former associates. Frank Oz, who appeared briefly as the strict corrections officer in the Blues Brothers, was 36 when the film came out. Known more for his iconic voice work with the Muppets and as Yoda in Star Wars, Oz brought a memorable intensity to his minor role. While professionally he enjoyed success as a puppeteer, director, and voice actor, his personal life told a more complex story. He married Robin Garson in 1979, and they had 2 children, Emily and Ben. However, Oz's demanding career, often away for months on location, strained their marriage, leading to a quiet divorce in 1992. His relationship with his children became distant during their teenage years, though they reconciled later. Oz also suffered from anxiety and periods of deep self-doubt, especially when transitioning from puppetry to directing live-action films. Despite these struggles, he managed a respectable career but often lamented never being recognized as a serious filmmaker. Now 81 years old, Oz lives reclusively in upstate New York, having retired from Hollywood. His estate is valued at approximately $8 million, largely from royalties and wise investments, though he rarely makes public appearances and has become increasingly private in his final years. Dan Aykroyd, who portrayed the reserved yet eccentric Elwood Blues, was 28 when he starred in The Blues Brothers. His performance, alongside John Belushi, became legendary, establishing a new kind of musical comedy icon. Aykroyd's real-life love of blues music and quirky personality shaped the character deeply. After Belushi's death, Aykroyd's life took a darker turn. He spiraled into depression and experienced survivor's guilt, retreating from Hollywood for a time. He married actress Donna Dixon in 1983, and they had 3 daughters, Danielle, Belle, and Stella. While the marriage lasted decades, it was marked by long periods of estrangement, and they quietly separated in the 2010s. Aykroyd was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome later in life, which helped explain his social difficulties but also brought clarity to years of emotional distance. He struggled with financial mismanagement in the 1990s due to failed business ventures, including a blues club chain and a vodka brand that nearly bankrupted him. Now 72, Aykroyd remains semi-retired, occasionally making appearances but mostly withdrawn. His current estate is estimated at $15 million, a mix of his earlier wealth and recent nostalgia-driven earnings, but he lives a largely solitary life in rural Ontario. Kathleen Freeman, who played the fearsome and devout Sister Mary Stigmata, was 61 at the time of filming. Her portrayal of the ruler-wielding nun became one of the most memorable supporting characters in The Blues Brothers. A respected character actress, Freeman never achieved leading lady status despite her immense talent. Her personal life was filled with loneliness and secrecy. She never married and had no known children, though she was rumored to have had a long-term romantic relationship with fellow actress Helen Ramsey, which was kept hidden due to the stigma of the era. Freeman battled lifelong insecurities about her appearance, which she believed limited her career, and suffered from untreated anxiety. Her devotion to her craft left her isolated from family and friends. In the 1990s, she was diagnosed with lung cancer but kept the illness private. She continued to perform until her final days. Freeman passed away in 2001 at the age of 82. Her estate was modest, valued at approximately $200,000, mostly from savings and residuals. She died quietly in New York City, having lived most of her later years alone, but was fondly remembered by fans and colleagues alike for her dedication and timeless performances. Cab Calloway, who portrayed Curtis, the wise and fatherly figure who managed the orphanage in The Blues Brothers, was 72 years old at the time of the film's release. His character, calm yet commanding, provided a nostalgic anchor to the brothers' chaotic world. While Cab's earlier career as a jazz legend brought him fame, his later years were filled with hardship. His marriage to Zoe Nuffy McNeil was riddled with turmoil. Though they remained together, their relationship suffered from Cab's declining health and financial difficulties. They had one daughter, Kamei Calloway Murphy, who became his primary caregiver later in life. Calloway experienced a series of devastating losses in the 1990s, including the deaths of several close friends from the Harlem Renaissance era. He also suffered a severe stroke in 1994, which left him unable to speak or walk, leading to a painful final year confined to a nursing facility. Once a vibrant performer, he spent his final days in silence. Cab Calloway died in 1994 at the age of 86 from complications following the stroke. At the time of his death, his estate was valued at approximately $500,000, a modest sum given his former fame, much of it diminished by poor management and medical costs in his later years. James Brown, who took on the unforgettable role of Reverend Cleophas James, was 47 when The Blues Brothers was released. His electrifying church scene became a cinematic highlight, channeling his legendary stage presence into gospel. Off-screen, however, Brown's life was fraught with tragedy. He was married 4 times, each ending in publicized and often bitter divorces. He fathered at least 9 children, including Daryl, Deanna, and Yama, though disputes over paternity haunted him for decades. His tumultuous personal life included multiple arrests for domestic abuse, drug charges, and weapons violations. The 1990s were particularly brutal: financial struggles, waning popularity, and IRS troubles consumed him. Brown became increasingly paranoid in his final years, cutting off close friends and family. He died on Christmas Day in 2006 at the age of 73 from congestive heart failure. His estate, estimated at around $100 million, became the subject of a long and bitter legal battle between children, former partners, and business associates, much of which remains unresolved to this day. Chaka Khan, who played the powerful yet brief role of the choir soloist, was just 27 when she appeared in The Blues Brothers. Her booming voice, though on screen for only a few moments, left a lasting impact. Off-camera, Khan's life was filled with struggles masked by the glamour of her success. She married musician Hassan Khan in her teens, a marriage that ended quickly, followed by another tumultuous relationship with Richard Holland, with whom she had her son, Damien. Damien, however, struggled with addiction and legal troubles, which deeply affected Chaka. Her own battles with drug addiction, particularly cocaine and heroin, led her in and out of rehab throughout the 1980s and 1990s. Despite Grammy wins and major career achievements, she often faced depression and isolation. Her daughter, Milani, born from another relationship, has publicly spoken about growing up in a chaotic environment. Though Chaka eventually found sobriety and converted to Christianity, her relationships remained strained. As of 2025, she is 72 years old, living quietly in California, largely out of the public eye. Her net worth is estimated at $30 million, though she has admitted much of her past wealth was lost to poor management and addiction. Stephen Williams, credited as Steve Williams and playing the role of Trooper Mount, was 31 when The Blues Brothers hit theaters. His portrayal of the persistent state trooper chasing the Blues Brothers brought him brief attention, but his career stalled not long after. Despite later landing the role of Mr. X in The X-Files, Williams spent much of the 1980s struggling to find stable work. A short-lived marriage to aspiring actress Tanya Reid ended after only 2 years, scarred by accusations of infidelity and substance abuse. They had no children. Williams reportedly battled alcoholism for many years, resulting in several DUI arrests and time spent in court-mandated rehab. Financial woes followed him well into the 2000s, with unpaid taxes and legal disputes draining what little he had saved. Though he made a modest comeback with television roles, he remained haunted by missed opportunities. Now 75, Stephen lives alone in a modest apartment in Los Angeles, estranged from most of his family. His net worth is estimated at just under $250,000, and he relies on pension income and residual checks to make ends meet. John Landis, who made a cameo as Trooper La Fong and also directed The Blues Brothers, was 29 when the film premiered. Known for his creative vision and comedic timing, Landis appeared to be on a trajectory to greatness. But tragedy struck during the filming of Twilight Zone, the movie in 1982, when a helicopter accident killed actor Vic Morrow and 2 children, an incident that would cast a dark shadow over his entire career. Though he was acquitted of manslaughter, the trauma, guilt, and public scorn never left him. His marriage to costume designer Deborah Nadelman survived the scandal, but the relationship was deeply strained. They had 2 children, Rachel and Max, the latter becoming infamous for his own controversial behavior in Hollywood. Landis's once bright directing career dimmed, with studios hesitant to hire him for major projects. Financially, he remained stable, largely due to residuals and investments, but emotionally, he became reclusive and bitter over time. Now 74, Landis lives in seclusion in California, reportedly working on unpublished memoirs. His net worth stands at approximately $5 million, though he reportedly spends little and rarely appears in public. Carrie Fisher, who portrayed the vengeful and enigmatic mystery woman in The Blues Brothers, was 24 years old when she took on the role. Her character was obsessed with destroying Jake Blues, her ex-lover, using increasingly dangerous weapons in comic yet alarming attempts. Fisher, already a household name from Star Wars, added a darkly comedic edge to the film. Off-screen, however, her life spiraled into chaos. After the movie, her struggle with bipolar disorder and substance abuse became publicly known. She married musician Paul Simon in 1983, but their volatile relationship, marked by frequent separations and reconciliations, lasted barely a year. They had no children together, but Fisher later had a daughter, Billy, with talent agent Brian Lord, who left her for another man, devastating her emotionally. Carrie's relationship with her family, especially her mother Debbie Reynolds, was often strained by the pressures of fame and addiction. Among the many tragedies she endured were multiple stints in rehab, financial instability despite high-profile projects, and chronic mental health issues. Her candid memoirs won critical praise, but peace remained elusive. She died suddenly in 2016 at age 60 from cardiac arrest exacerbated by drug use. Her estate was valued at approximately $25 million, much of which was left to her daughter. John Candy, who played the affable parole officer Burton Mercer in The Blues Brothers, was 30 years old during filming. His character, chasing Jake and Elwood with exasperated good humor, brought a balance of lawfulness and warmth to the chaos of the Blues Brothers' antics. Behind his comedic exterior, Candy's personal life was filled with sorrow and struggle. He married Rosemary Hober in 1979, and while they had 2 children, Jennifer and Christopher, the pressures of fame and his self-destructive habits created a rift in the family. Though they never divorced, their relationship grew distant over the years. Candy battled with obesity, depression, and a relentless schedule that took a toll on his health. He was haunted by the early deaths of close friends like John Belushi and carried the weight of survivor's guilt. Professionally, many of his later films were flops, and he often blamed himself, sinking further into depression. He died tragically in 1994 at the age of 43 from a heart attack while filming in Mexico. At the time of his death, his estate was valued at around $15 million. Despite his fame and the love from fans worldwide, Candy passed away feeling unfulfilled, plagued by fears of inadequacy and the inability to escape the clown persona the public demanded. Steve Cropper, who played Steve, the Colonel, Cropper, the stoic guitarist for the Blues Brothers band, was 39 years old when he stepped into the role. Known for his reserved demeanor and loyalty to the band, Cropper's character gave depth to the group's soulful chemistry. In real life, Steve's career after the film was marked by underappreciation. Despite being a celebrated session guitarist and co-writer of hits like Dock of the Bay, mainstream recognition often eluded him. He married his longtime girlfriend, Melissa Grant, in 1982, and they had 3 children, Jackson, Rena, and Elijah. However, the marriage collapsed in the mid-90s under the weight of Steve's frequent absences and emotional distance. Cropper struggled with depression and alcoholism, retreating from the spotlight after a series of failed business ventures drained his savings. He attempted comebacks but was increasingly seen as a relic of a bygone era. His relationship with his children became strained, particularly after Jackson publicly criticized him in a memoir. Now 83 years old, Cropper lives in quiet seclusion in Tennessee with limited contact with the outside world. His estate is modest, estimated at $400,000, and much of his life's work remains uncelebrated by the larger music community, leaving him feeling like a forgotten architect of soul. Donald "Duck" Dunn, who portrayed himself as the stoic, sunglasses-wearing bassist in the Blues Brothers, was 38 years old at the time. His on-screen persona mirrored his real-life presence, calm, unwavering, and grounded in deep musical roots. Following the film, Dunn continued to tour and record, but despite his legendary status in music circles, he never achieved the commercial success of some of his peers. His marriage to his childhood sweetheart, Evelyn Moore, seemed stable from the outside, but they endured long separations due to touring, and their only child, Samuel, became estranged during Dunn's later years. Behind his quiet image, Dunn suffered from severe anxiety and imposter syndrome, which he masked through work and occasional substance use. In the late 2000s, A failed investment in a music studio cost him nearly all of his savings, forcing him to accept lower-paying gigs to survive. He died in his sleep in 2012 at the age of 70 while on tour in Tokyo. His heart simply gave out. At the time of his death, his estate was estimated at a modest $350,000. Though mourned by fellow musicians, Dunn died feeling isolated and misunderstood, overshadowed by louder personalities, despite his vital role in shaping the sound of an era. Who is your favorite character from the Blues Brothers? How does it feel knowing that some of the actors are no longer with us? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy this type of content, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on future uploads. Thank you for your support.